or church668hope@gmail.com or call us at 753-1113 or 236-7271. Your free gifts and offerings will be greatly appreciated at Church of the Firstborn Assembly, account number 795222 at the First Citizens Bank.
Get in touch with God. Turn your radio on.
Share the live. Share the live. The Street91.9 FM on Facebook and Instagram. Share the live. Iowa George on Instagram. Share the live. Iowa TV and Street TV on YouTube. Share the live. The Street91.9 FM.
Welcome back, Sharon.
Bruce, I'm right here.
Yeah. I'm now watching something in our email here. So I wonder if I'm supposed to change this whole thing.
All right, so we're back. You send out the link?
I sent it to Micheline, but I'm seeing that she sent me something here that was from before. Do you have an email from her?
Not that I know. Yes, I'll check.
All right. Here what I'm going to do, Sean. I'll put on something to play real quick, and I will let me change up this. I'm going to send you. I'm going to forward this email to you. All right. I'm going to forward this email to you, and I'm going to change the I'm going to change the link.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So let me do that quickly.
Let me go. Hey, it was Christmas morning. Man, I hear it all talking. Someone started listening to hear what they were saying. And I couldn't take no more. And I opened up my door. Was my neighbor Mary, who living next to me. I say, girl, where you come here for? Where you want? But before I close up my door, she said, man, like you forget already. Let me refresh your memory.
So,
you hearing me?
we're back Trinidad and Tobago. Just had to make some little changes to accommodate our interview. So, we're back. Bruce?
Yes.
I'm seeing our guests coming in.
That's right. Okay.
Nice.
What is that sound all about?
You look lovely.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love the lipstick.
Don't worry, I'll send you one. Or I'll bring it myself.
All right.
How are you this morning?
I am doing very well, you know. How are you?
I am great. I'm great after good. Trinidad and Tobago, I have in my company Mrs. Tracy Davidson Celeste, and she looks beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
we got caught.
By surprise, huh? That's a good thing.
I tell you. So how is Tobago?
Well, Tobago is lovely. Very fine weather. Today, I think we will be in for a very sunny day.
Yes.
I think we are doing well by the grace of God, and so is the People's National Movement. We are moving in the right direction.
And that is?
On the ground, serving our people as we usually do.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, today, Trinidad and Tobago, we are going to be interviewing Mrs. Tracy Davidson Celestine for the upcoming Tobago House of Assembly elections. That's on December 6th. And, you know, I don't want to do much talking. I want to give you the opportunity to do all the talking today with a little bit of guidance. And I want to first ask you to tell Trinidad and Tobago who is Tracy Davidson Celestine before we start running. So the ball is in your court and the mic is yours this morning.
Well, Tracy Davidson Celestine is a very fun-loving, deep-seated laughter individual, one who is deeply rooted in family, one who is I'm a hard worker, and most importantly, I am for the people of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. And when I take up a role and responsibility and a duty, I try to ensure that I implement and I do all that I can do to the satisfaction of the citizenry of the island. And so Tracy Davidson Celestine is one who has been working within the walls of the politics for the last 16, going on 17 years. I've worked in most of the divisions of the Tobago House of Assembly, and I've also worked internationally as a diplomat, as an ambassador in Costa Rica with responsibilities for 5 Central American countries as well. So I am also an individual who is focused on health and well-being. And so I try to ensure that I have within my daily living an exercise schedule that I try to follow regularly. I'm one who like to relax and unwind after a hard, long day with a glass of wine and with very nice conversations and some good laugh at the end of it.
Excellent. So, Tracy, what is your area you're going up for in the upcoming elections?
Well, I am running for the seat of Signal Hill, Patience Hill. Of course, you would know that I was a representative before now for 8 years. I held the seat of Palatavere, Lansamy Speyside Electoral District, unbeatable. That is, I am now in the west, in the Signal Hill, Patience Hill, and that comprises 5.5 villages, a part of Lambo, all of Orange Hill, part of Patience Hill, some of Signal Hill, there is Spring Garden, and there is also Union. And I've been working with the people ever since my taking up of the oath of office to represent them without fear or favor, and of course, without bias.
Nice. So, Tracy, let's get straight to the playing field, as we see. And first thing I want to ask, how fast and I want to get everything outside there. The court ordered, because this is election, Trinidad and Tobago, and we faced with a serious election for Tobago. We saved with governance, and we have to get it right. So questions have to be asked, and we need to get answers. So the court-ordered PSA audit raised a lot of questions about the management of PDP leader Watson Duke. Do you think this will affect how Tobagonians will vote in the December 6th elections?
Well, the thing is, Sharon, I certainly hope that it will, because all of the red flags are there in terms of what has transpired in the walls of the PSA. And so the report really confirmed what we know, what we have been seeing over the last 10 years or so, and that is really a chaotic and a self-serving management style coming from the political leader of the PDP. And so when you look at it, it really paints the portrait of an incompetent leader and one with a lot to hide, the $6.3 million unaccounted for. And the challenge is, that when you read the report as laid in the Guardian newspaper, one of the things that you would notice that there is an absence of the levels of accountability that should go with organizations like those. And so what it says to you, what screams out to you from that report is that basically all of the decisions made, financial and otherwise, within that organization was made by the political leader and the president of the PDP, and the political leader and the president of the PSA. And so that is what is stark in this particular situation. No levels of transparency, no levels of accountability whatsoever. And so whatever has happened in that organization over the last 10 years, in 2020, lays at the feet of the political leader of the PDP and also at the feet of the president of the organization. And so when those things come to light, Tobagonians really must ask themselves the question whether they trust Duke to handle the $2.2 billion budget of the Tobago House of Assembly. And that is what we have to be asking at this time. Some would say that why would you want to bring PSA situation into the Tobago House of Assembly election at this time? Because it shows characteristics, it shows whether the person over there who is attempting to lead the Tobago House of Assembly can in fact manage. And the answer to that is a resounding no. And so that is why I'm saying that I'm hoping that Tobagonians are paying close attention to what is happening in the PSA and equating that to what can happen in the Tobago House of Assembly if it is that we put God out of our thoughts and vote the PDP into office.
Mm-hmm. What an answer. In every elections, Mrs. Davidson Celestine, we have politicians would come and make promises. What is the PNM's vision for Tobago? And is there anything different from what we've heard time and time again? Despite what you just explained to us, where that the PSA is concerned and accountability and so on. What can we hear that the PNM is going to bring for us?
Well, the thing is, Sharon, we really have no political old talk to offer. And especially under my leadership, Tracy Davidson Celestine, as I indicated to you, I'm a hard worker. And when I do put my shoulders to the grind, when I put my shoulders to the wheel, as a team and as an administration, we are going to get the work done. And so what I'm putting forward is really a vision for Tobago in terms of where I and the People's National Movement want to see Tobago going forward. And so we have already put in our document, in our manifesto, where we want to take Tobago. And some of it was communicated in the last Tobago House of Assembly election. The whole issue of land titles is something that we want to deal with almost immediately. It is something that our people have been grappling with for the longest while now. And that is why we are going to push for the Tobago Autonomy Bill. Of course, we were very close to having the approval from the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. But then again, we saw the partnership from the UNC and even the PDP installing that particular process. But within that Tobago Autonomy Bill, there would have been opportunities for the setting up of a division of legal affairs, one that will be entrusted with the authority to work with central government, to work with all of the institutions to ensure that we can deal with those land titles once and for all, because it's a real challenge, especially for the people in Tobago East. We will ensure that we provide 2,000 lots of land over the next 4 years for the young people and the not so young people, because we recognize and we understand, especially during my walkabout, people will ask, I need a house, I need a lot of land in order to ensure that my family's future is well secure. And so under my leadership, I will ensure that we work with the private sector to provide homes and lands for the people and the young people of Tobago going forward. The whole issue of employment and unemployment. We have youth unemployment on the island, and we are going to work with the private sector through a public-private sector partnership to at least create at least 3,000 jobs over the next 4 years, because it's a real challenge. I want to see our young people who are well-trained, who are well-educated, leading meaningful lives. And I want to see even those who might not have the kind of academic qualification at least leading meaningful lives. And so we're not only going to focus on jobs within the Tobago House of Assembly. Yes, I know people want security of tenure and they want permanency, but we are going to support the public sector so that we can at least create 3,000 jobs going forward. We also have to advance the development at Cove Eco Industrial and Business Park in terms of how we look at the rental lease arrangement program. We have Cove for quite some time now, and we have to take it to a new level. Sharon, one of the things that I bring to the table is the fact that I don't only have Tobago experience. I have national and international experience as well. And when I talk about international experience, I'm talking about the time that I spent in Costa Rica as the ambassador and a diplomat representing the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And my time spent there wasn't wasted. Costa Rica is a country that is somewhat similar to Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago. They have celebrated, I think it was 199 years in terms of independence when I was there. I'm hoping that I'm not mistaken. The thing with Costa Rica is that most of the challenges that we have today, they have solved them. And I was able to get a very good understanding of the systems and the structures that Tobago need to put in place in order to advance and in order to move ahead. And so when we're talking about Cove Eco Industrial Development Park, there is a model already in my mind and in my head in terms of what I'm going to implement, because we need an agency who would help, who would go out there in the international world to market Cove and to attract the kind of foreign direct investment that we need. You have heard me talking about foreign direct investment over the last day or so, and that we are going to advance that area so that we can have more out of Cove for the people of Tobago. And we are also looking at working with the private sector, providing them with the level of incentives and support so that they can once and for all become the engines of growth in this very small island space called Tobago as a part of Trinidad and Tobago. And so my vision is clear. for where I want to take Tobago. My mandate will be given by the people. That is through the elections, December 6, 2021. And I want to assure all of Tobago and Trinidad and Tobago that with my very experienced team, that we are going to put our shoulders to the wheel and we will deliver at an even higher level for the people of Tobago.
Let's talk about COVID-19. How does the THA plan to deal with COVID-19 in the future, now that scientists around the world agree that the virus is endemic and not going away? And then you see we have the Delta rising. How does the THA plan to deal with that COVID-19? And I know that's going to fall in your field because you're the Secretary of Health.
Well, the Tobago House of Assembly, we have an approach where, one, the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development, including the TRHA, we have a particular specific responsibility, which is to try to ensure that we have the protocols in place, that we educate our people about how they are to behave throughout this pandemic, and more so that we have the infrastructure and support mechanisms in place to preserve lives. And we have been doing that. Unfortunately, we have had 101 deaths, but we continue to inform the people of Tobago that the only way to manage the spread of the virus and not to have any untoward circumstances is to be fully vaccinated. Outside of that, you have the Division of Community Development and Enterprise Development. They have been working with small, micro, medium-sized businesses to provide them with financial support, to provide them with training. I think over the last 4 years or so, we have issued over $40 million to businesses in Tobago so that they can thrive. And more specifically, within the last year or so, we have spent over $15 million to ensure that the businesses, the small ones and the medium ones, can continue to flourish. There is also the task force that has been put in place into operation through the Office of the Chief Secretary, and they would look at, or they are looking rather, at different kind of initiatives to be implemented, having to do with food security, having to do with implementing initiatives so that the business sector can continue to thrive and grow. The point I am making, Sharon, is that there is a plan of action that is being actively implemented, and all of the respective divisions, we have a role, and the secretaries rather have a role to play in ensuring that we bring Tobago back to the state that it was pre-COVID, and that is what we are working towards at this point in time.
And before we move away from the COVID, let me ask you, what grants and financial assistance the business community has gotten in COVID?
Pardon, can you repeat that?
What grants and financial assistance the business community has gotten in COVID and assistance to people?
All right. Well, I would look at that at two levels. One, from the level of the tourism sector, the central government and the Tobago House of Assembly through the Secretary of Tourism would have worked hand in hand to secure $100 million for the tourism sector, $50 million in the last financial period and a further $50 million in this fiscal period. So that totals $100 million of supplemental funding for the tourism sector. The first 50 million was to treat with things like their buildings, getting them up to a certain kind of level. And this 50 million, if I'm not mistaken, would treat with other expenses, perhaps relating to staff-related expenses and those kind of things. From the Division of Community Development and Enterprise Development, we have approved over $20 million to assist small, micro, and medium term and medium-sized businesses so that they can get the kind of financial support and the technical support that will help them to move and to become stable throughout this very trying time. So all in all, we have spent approximately within the last year or so, approximately over $120 million for the business sector alone. And that does not include the support through the different banks that would have been forged by the Minister of Finance, who is Coleman Burt at this time. And it is, of course, open to the business sectors in Tobago as well. So we have been doing all that we can to provide the support to the business sector, to provide the support to the tourism sector, and we will continue to support them along the way.
So, Mrs. Davidson Celestine, why you think PNM is the better choice in this election on December 6th?
Well, the People's National Movement is in fact the better choice in this election. And the evidence is all around us in terms of what the PNM administration has done for the people of Tobago. When you talk about stability, you get that from the People's National Movement. We are not an erratic organization. We are not an organization led by people who want today, we have a position, and then tomorrow there is another position. We have been very stable. We have been very consistent in our approaches and even in our utterances. And so the people of Tobago can rest assured that with a People's National Movement administration led by Tracy Davidson Celestine, that there can be a level of predictability that will augur well for their own individual empowerment and even for business empowerment and business growth on this island. We are who we say we are. We, over the last 20 years, has transformed this space. We have set the foundation. We have built health centers. We have built community centers. We have improved the playing fields. We have catered for the young people. We have catered for the not so young people. We have dealt with the mothers. We have dealt with vulnerable persons in our communities. Let's look, for instance, at the support from the Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development. We have been giving persons food cards, and this is, of course, in collaboration with the Division of Finance and the Economy. Over 25,000 food cards and food support have since been issued by this administration over the last year to ensure that our people can eat, especially those who have lost their jobs as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have been providing people with even support when their houses have burnt down. And, you know, this is an important point, Sharon, because I don't think anywhere in the Caribbean you have the kind of social support like we have in Tobago and in Trinidad and Tobago, because some governments will tell you we are not an insurance agency. If it is your house is burned down, you were supposed to ensure that you insure your property. But the Tobago House of Assembly assists with clothing, we assist with food, we assist with home appliances, right? Whether you have emergency or otherwise. And the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and the Environment will come in with URP to help even to rebuild the property. And then there is further financial assistance coming from the Division of Housing and Settlements. The point I'm also making, Sharon, is that some people will think, well, government exists to help people in any event. But mind you, these are the policies and programs of the People's National Movement Administration. It does not mean that on December 6th, if another administration takes over office, that these programs will continue. Not because they have been here for the last 15 or 20 years. It means that they will continue on December 6th if the PDP takes over. And that is one of the things that our people ought to know. Different administrations have different policies, they have different programs, but by and large, the People's National Movement, we have been consistent. We are who we say we are. We are a team of experienced persons. We have the Secretary of Finance as a candidate. We have the Chief Secretary as a candidate. The leader of the political arm of the Tobago Council of the PNM in January will will have 17 years of political experience, not only at the Tobago level, but at the international level as well. And then you have a mix of youth, young persons, who would also ensure that the young people on the island are well represented in terms of our decision making. And so the point is that the Tobago House of Assembly, the PNM administration is also evolving. We are changing. We are more accepting now of foreign direct investment. We want to see Tobago moved to another level in terms of development. And more importantly, we are PNM Tobago, PNM Trinidad. And there is a sound relationship between both administrations, and one that can augur well to advancing the state of development of Tobago. It is with PNM in Trinidad and PNM in Tobago that we were able to start the construction of the airport for the people of Tobago. Let me go back to when I was the secretary in for tourism and transportation, and also the deputy chief secretary. I led the delegation on several occasions for 4 years to different parts of the world, in London and in World Travel Market, to Berlin for ITB, and all of the tour operators and those persons we interacted with from the tourism sector would tell you that Tobago needs a better airport, that Tobago needs more hotel, that Tobago needs this and Tobago needs that. If we had to advance tourism development, the UNC was in office at that time, and all we got in that period of time that I was the deputy chief secretary was some aesthetics to the airport, causing about $44 million. But with a PNM Tobago and a PNM Trinidad, the Prime Minister, who is also a Tobagonian, has ensured that the development and the construction of Tobago's airport, the A&R Robinson Airport, is on the agenda. And over $100 million and counting will be spent to ensure that we can have the infrastructure to give the airlines and the international tourism sector the confidence that Tobago is moving in the right direction when it comes to the development of the tourism sector. And then, again, it is through with our relationship with the central government that we're now talking about improved accommodation for the island. Marriott is a big brand. It is an international brand. It brings to the destination over 200 rooms. It brings to the destination quite a lot of employment. With Marriott coming to the destination, it means that we will be able to attract airlines. We're talking about American Airlines, who might come to the destination almost daily. It means that we can now take into consideration, cater to the business class passengers. They are the ones who spend quite a lot of money. It means that we can create further employment for people, because we're talking about creating 3,000 jobs over the next 4 years. There are opportunities for taxi drivers. There are opportunities for farmers. There are opportunities for people who would want to produce eggs. If you ever stay at a hotel, you would recognize how many eggs they use on a daily basis, even in making breakfast and salads and those kind of things. So the point of the matter is, some people will talk about the 1% coming to buy out Tobago lands and the 1%, but the 1% is making an investment in Tobago that we have not seen from any other percent.
Well, Trinidad and Tobago, well.